It's the GAA Social on BBC Sounds, and we've travelled down the country, Oisin, for one of the greats. One of the greats.
That's fair.
Too much, is it? No?
No.
Yeah.
One of the greats.
The amount of people who have said to me throughout the last couple of years, why do you not get this man on? Why do you not get this man on? And it is time that we get the...
Probably haven't heard a lot from him down through the years either.
I think that's what makes it more interesting, because
there's a mystique around him.
Yeah, Matty Forde in front of us now. I don't know very much about you at all.
I'd say there's probably people who would say they've heard too much from me in the last good few years, but yeah, hopefully we can impart something on you, Thomas, you haven't heard previously.
Welcome to the podcast, fella. How you keeping?
Good. Yeah, delighted to be on. Look, it's something I've seen plenty of them, listened to plenty of them. So yeah, to be sitting on this end of it is a bit surreal, but yeah, delighted to be on. Thank you very much.
Good man. Before we get into the podcast, it is important that I clarify something at the very start. Ronan Clark, who you would have played with for Ireland, his wife Michelle, lovely girl, I think she teaches in St Joseph's Donaghmore, and Ronan Clark sent me a message saying, "Lad, don't like to ask this, but it has been suggested to me that you possibly could give a shout out to St Joseph's Donaghmore."
He's been told.
I wouldn't want to say that, but it seems to be there's been a bit of conversation in the household to put a bit of pressure on to say, well done, St Joseph's Donaghmore. But actually, to be fair, we should say that won the Dalton Cup, beat St Louis Ballymena, so kind of newish teams in that.
Yeah, big win, yeah.
Yeah. So that is the second year competition up north, Matty, and for St Joseph's, as was for Ballymena getting to the final. It's a big deal. Congratulations to all the Tyrone boys. That is brilliant stuff.
Job done, Clarky.
Well done, Ronan Clark. The marriage it's good for an hour.
Secure.
It's good for an hour while yet. Not the start of our normal podcast, it must be said. Matty, how are you, fella? How's life?
Good. Yeah, busy. Two small kids. Just moved into a house, 6 odd months ago. Just started a new job, so yeah, everything is good. Everyone's healthy. That's the main thing.
Fantastic. You're the picture of health sitting in front of us here. You're not still playing, are you?
I'm not. As I said off camera, there looks can be deceptive. Yeah, look, I'm trying to do a bit. Try and keep fit. Try and set a good example to the young fellas. But yeah, look at feeling good and completely different, I suppose, to our playing time where you're out 6-7 nights a week. It was non-stop, all encompassing. But yeah, look, it's nice to have taken a step back in terms of not being playing. Still involved, obviously. But yeah, look, I think probably one of the good habits I picked up from GA was trying to probably keep in shape, and probably being a bit jealous looking at lads playing over 40s, especially to Tyrone, lads who can't let go, and who have practically all the 2008 team playing under over 40s team. But no, look at it is. It's something I would have picked up along the way to try and keep yourself in good shape, and I suppose I'd set a decent example to the young fellas.
Good man.
You do a bit of coaching now as well.
Yeah, I'm involved. Look, I've been involved in somewhere or other practically probably from around 2004, I'd say, but I'm involved with Shelmalier Seniors at the moment down in Wexford. So been there last year, we're beaten in a county final, back again this year, hoping to go one step further, but easier said than done. But look, as you well know yourselves, it's harder to get out of it than anything. So look, I'll be involved at some way, shape or form for a while to come yet, I'd say.
And it's a good time for Wexford.
Yeah, look, on the way up, had a very bleak, probably last 10 to 15 years, really, really bleak, but starting to make strides again. Fair play to John and his backroom team. Really good performance in the league final and over the league campaign. I certainly didn't see it coming. I would have been one of the ones who said, we're probably in the mix here for being relegated as opposed to being promoted. Rode our luck along the way, but look, you need a couple of breaks like that when you're a Wexford or a Wicklow or a Carlow or someone to get that one step further. And I know from our own journey, 20 odd years ago, we made progress through the leagues by gradually going up and playing better teams, and you either win or learn. So look, people are talking about Wexford playing Division 2 next year. I think that's for next year. We still have a championship campaign to go ahead and a Dalton Cup campaign or whatever it's going to be. But it's certainly good to see going in the right direction again.
Yeah.
Would you want to be in the Sam Maguire Cup?
For me, I think it's probably a little bit too soon for Wexford. I'm sure the lads went out with the idea of trying to win that game, and obviously knowing what was coming on the back of it was Sam Maguire. Look, it would have been unbelievable for the likes of them to have a Kerry or an Armagh or a Donegal coming to Wexford Park. Of course it would. But look, maybe it's too soon. I think the league will give them I suppose a taste of that next year, without going into the real hot and heavy stuff, the likes of the Kerrys and the Donegals and the Armaghs. So possibly maybe a couple of years too early, but as players, look at that's what they're aiming to. You want to be playing the best. And I said again, from our own playing days, I remember looking at the likes of the Armaghs at the time, the Galways, the Dublins, the Kerrys. You wanted to be trying to play those and just see, can you match up with those? And I think for certainly part of our own playing time, we were able to compete with the likes of those. So I know these lads are going to be exactly the same and want to try and compete with the better teams.
What's the big change there now? What do you think?
Not being on the inside of Oisin, it's very hard to say. I'd have to give John, as a former teammate and clubmate of mine, I'd have to give great credit to him and his backroom team. This is in his fourth season. He missed out on promotion the first two, and now he's had two back-to-back promotions. For me, the biggest thing from the outside looking in is the condition of the players. He's had a huge retention of players. I think 24 of his squad from year one are still there in year four, which is a good sign for both him and the players. But they've certainly progressed in terms of S&C, and I think that's the basis for any team, in whether it's National Football League, whether it's in a club championship. I think get your strength and conditioning in order first, and I think a lot of other stuff will fall into place behind that. Look, with the new game, there's so many changes and so many moving parts. You do need tactics, etc. But I think if you haven't got the proper base of S&C behind you, I think you're on the back foot before you start.
I think you hit on something there, though, that I used to hear this a lot of the time with the likes of maybe a Down or some of the teams maybe that were struggling down the divisions at the time. And one of the things was the turnover of players. You mentioned the turnover of players, and to have a group of players, a core group of 20, 22, 24, whatever it happens to be. Like people think people get that outside of the counties that are in Division 3 and Division 4.
I think and it's probably been exacerbated over the last couple of years, it's really tough going in Division, particularly in Division 4 and probably even Division 3. Like there's not huge rewards there for a lot of players and a lot of teams in those divisions. So for them to be able to retain that many players, and for the players to decide themselves, like, we want something to happen here. And again, I don't want to keep harping back to our own days, but we would have had a nucleus of players from probably 99, 2000 up to 2008 who were the same 20 odd players who just were kind of saying, like, we are sick of being beaten the whole time and we want to progress. And these lads have put their heads down, and they have. And whatever happens next year in Division 2 happens, but like, they have shown real progress over the last couple of years, and that can be a stepping stone, whether it be in Leinster, be in the Dalton Cup, or in Division 2 next year, that they can actually start to move forward. There's actually a relatively young age profile of the squad, which is really good. I think there's probably only 2 players over 30 in the whole panel, which is good, which I think you probably need at the moment. The game is probably more aerobic than it has been probably at any stage, with the new rules, which I think have been a revelation. So I think they're certainly moving in the right direction, but keeping a group of players together and good leaders, and I think to have that now, which probably hasn't been there for a while. So I said, look, at the future's looking somewhat brighter anyway than it has been.
Does a season change within a season, Matty? I mean, you look at Wexford, you wouldn't have picked them out to get promotion at the start of the year. They do get it. Even when they achieve a league final, you're kind of thinking, not you, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but just generally people on the outside, well, like, Down should win that. But actually, if you look at that game, you can make a very strong case Wexford should have won it, or certainly could have won it.
Yeah, I think they absolutely could have won it. Completely dominated, probably 25 to 30 minutes of the second half. Just didn't put it on the board. I remember watching it. I wasn't at the game. I was at home with the 2 young fellas. There were 3 points up, maybe 10, 12 minutes to go. I was just thinking to myself, this is actually a big lead in this game. Had they pushed it out to 5, I think they would have won it, because they had such a hold, such a grip on the game, particularly around the middle third, where obviously Down were noted for being quite strong and completely dominated Wexford there in the group game. But had they been able to push on and get another, maybe a 2-pointer, or kick a couple of 1-pointers and get it to 5, I think they probably would have closed it out. But that just comes from confidence. The confidence comes from what they have behind them in terms of their training. And obviously the 2 wins over Clare away and Westmeath at home are huge, and it's given huge. And again, we just spoke briefly off camera, there was obviously huge pressure on Down. There were a Sam Maguire team last year. There really had to be one this year, or it was going to be a huge backward step for them. So there was big pressure on them, and it kind of looked like that. But Wexford will probably see it as one maybe that got away on them, because the chance for us, and I know it's been spoke about a lot over the weekend with the Division 3 and 4 finals in Croke Park, the chance for teams like us to win national titles are few and far between, and you have to try and take them with both hands when the chance arises.
Championship this year is against for Wexford.
Louth in 3 weeks' time.
Nice easy one for you.
Easy start, yeah. Really, really good Division 2 team, and away, I think, as well. But yeah, like, you're talking about seasons within seasons. I think years ago, probably Wexford would have been happy enough with their lot after league campaign and probably, no, I wouldn't say throw the towel at it, but probably down tools a little bit come championship. But I think this group seems to be a good bit more ambitious, and I think they will have a really good go at Louth. Louth are a really good team, and weren't too far away themselves from being in the promotion shake-up out of Division 2, so, and have been around a while at this stage. Obviously, they're Leinster champions as well, so it's going to be incredibly tough, but I think it's what this group of players kind of relish with Wexford, and whatever happens in Louth happens. If they do lose the game, they're back into the Tailteann Cup, but I think we'll see really what they're made of then. Do they really go and take the Tailteann Cup seriously and have a good cut at trying to go deep into that and probably even win it?
Right. Win it? Is that...
Look, I think that has to be, if that's where they end up after the Louth game, I think that has to be a realistic target for them. I think that they have the capabilities of winning the Tailteann Cup, yeah.
When you look at them, they'll be seeded
pretty high.
Yeah, they'll be seeded number 1 in that top group, so you would think that has to be a goal.
On paper, the two teams that come out of Division 3 into Division 2 are the top two teams in the Tailteann. If it all worked out in that way, I know the provincial final and there's a wee bit of Kildare in the Tailteann Cup, they drop down, etc. But generally speaking, the Tailteann Cup is top 2 divisions, All Ireland, bottom 2 divisions, Tailteann Cup. Then they should be there.
Yeah. They're definitely in the mix.
I think they're in the probably realistically in the top 4 teams in that, and I think on a given day you don't know how certain teams are going to approach it. I know for certain in our own playing days, if we were beaten in Leinster, particularly in the early days, that's us, we down tools. We certainly did in qualifiers, and probably lost the first 4 or 5 years in a row in qualifiers, until the likes of maybe Pat Rowe or Jason, or Pat Rowe in particular, I suppose, come in and just said, look, do you want your season to end on losing the Leinster semi-final again, or are you actually going to have a go at this and put the shoulder to the wheel? And we did, and we ended up starting to win qualifiers, and then obviously I suppose 2008 takes on a bit of a life of its own. But this team I think probably are a bit different. I think they're a bit more ambitious than we were probably in our early days, but that's probably where this team was about probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, because people always go to 08 with you guys, and we maybe talk about that later, but when if we pluck up the courage, but in 08,
the end of the road for him.
In 08, that wasn't just like something that just sort of happened out of nowhere. Like, you were in a league final in 04, and then 05, 06, and then 07. That's the trajectory, I suppose, is a little bit similar to what's currently happening. So was it 04 using the league final?
No, 5. So he beat us in 05 in the Division 1 final. So like, we had beaten Galway, we'd beaten Laois, who had won Leinster previously, we had beaten Tyrone in the semi-final, and then we realised at the time or after it that we were quite a bit off Armagh, because there's a famous picture of one of the Ulster titles you won around that stage, and it's Skeezer and I think it's Paul McGrain lifting the cup, and the arms on the two of them was frightening. And this was me looking in at probably an 18, 19 year old saying, Jesus, how do you compete with that kind of thing? But we eventually did, because I think we'd beaten Armagh that year in the group game in Wexford. Myself and my brother were actually in a car crash on the way to the match, to that game, the first round of the National League. We were on a straight going to the match. I slowed up, there was a car turning right in front of me, and a guy slowed up behind me who actually ended up being the manager's son, or our coach's son, but a car came into the back of him, so drove a car into me and him. So we were okay. The car got a nice bit of damage, so we were told not to move. There was an ambulance on the way, so we were sat in the car, and were a bit sore, a little bit tender, but the ambulance arrived anyway and came in and had a look, lads, he's all right. And he goes, sure, you have a match, he says, you may go ahead. And literally a car pulled up, I think it was actually John Hegarty pulled up beside us, and in we got with him and headed to Wexford Park to play the league game, and we won. That actually happened. Now we the two of us were quite sore the next day. The car wasn't in great shape, but
upon reflection,
I'm actually feeling my shoulder a bit now. probably not the smartest thing. But yeah, probably going back to your original story, but we just felt we were able to compete with teams like that, and we did for the best part. And then that was 2005. So while we were beaten probably comfortably enough on the day, we started to compete with top Division 2 and some of the Division 1 teams. So that's probably where 2008 culminated out.
And then it fell away for a bit. How quickly did it fall away?
So 2009, complete disaster. We had a huge amount of injuries that year through the National League. And again, it's a little bit like I'm saying where we were in the previous year, where we lose in Leinster, and then we I wouldn't say we down tools, because Jason Ryan wouldn't have allowed that, but we had a huge amount of injuries to really important players. So Philip Wallace missed most of 2009. Redmond Barry missed most of 2009. I got injured after 4 rounds of the league and didn't play again in 2009. That was the beginning of the end of me. It was a bad injury I picked up in a club championship match. So 9 was a disaster. We got relegated from Division 2 because we'd won Division 3 in 2008. But I finished up at the end of 2010, and it was really tough going. I was in bad shape anyway, but got back to the Leinster final in 2011, but probably from there. And I would genuinely say the fall off was a lot of that group of 2008 in particular, 2004 to 2008 were starting to drift away, or
nothing coming in.
Probably like most teams, we just thought lads are gonna organically keep coming. It wasn't looked after. Like, look, I don't think it's any secret. Football is the poor relation of hurling in Wexford, and always has been. And we just weren't bringing lads through. There wasn't enough being done at underage. That's probably a lot to do with the football clubs as much as the county board and so on. But your Colin Morrises, your Redmond Barrys, your David Murphys, the likes of them, and like there weren't really players we could replace, or probably we realistically have never replaced. So there has been a huge lull probably since that time, 12, 13 up to now, which is a full generation of players realistically.
How's life?
Good.
You mentioned you've two wee boys.
2 boys, 4.5 and 1.5. So
you got married. Well, late enough, maybe just before COVID, wasn't it?
Late enough in every sense. So the lads telling me like I'm closing in on 47. So they said I got away with it for a long time. So I got married the 14th of February. Me being a huge romantic.
14th
Got
Valentine's
married
Day.
14th of February.
Valentino Forde.
It was nothing to do with being the only available date, by the way.
Valentino Forde.
We should have called one of the kids that. 14th of February 2020. So it was literally a month before
lockdown.
The world stopped. So yeah, just gone 6 years.
So you're 40 or 41, 40?
Yeah, 41. Yeah.
I thought I did well. I got to 35.
Yeah, no, I've done very well, and I've been told that on numerous occasions. So my brother takes great heart now in telling me that he's out getting a few pints with the lads. These kids are rare, so I'm a home rare man.
Yeah,
It's much of a muchness, but yeah, look, it's busy, but it's great. It's my life kind of revolved around football realistically from 15 to 40. I kept playing and done everything was revolved around football. Work was revolved around football. My social life revolved around football because you didn't have one, I never had an issue with that. There was no one with a gun to the head making you play, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I'd love to go back and do it again, particularly with the new rules. But yeah, as the lad said, I got away with it for a long time. So, but it's actually nice. It's nice taking a little bit of a step back now, and it's not as hectic. And I think my priorities I didn't see this happen, have changed completely, where like family is the most important thing now, and it is by a long way.
Yeah, and more important now than ever, particularly the last 5 weeks that you've probably had, Manny. So people are probably thinking, what's going on there? You've lost your father.
Yeah.
Which we didn't know, before the podcast today, but so you're in the middle of it, you're not out the other side of it, I would imagine yet. Can you give me a sense of just what that journey's been like?
Yeah, it's a really weird one, and you can't explain it to somebody that hasn't happened to. And I've had loads of conversations and really nice conversations with people over the last 5 weeks. Like, so we knew this was coming, and right, we're kind of thought, I'm the youngest in the family of 6, so there's not young siblings, which is great. We were probably spoiled to have him for as long as we had, and have him very healthy. And with that probably comes a bit of taking it for granted that he's just always going to be there. And even still, so myself, 2 of my brothers, my sister, actually 2 of my sisters live within probably 200 metres of the home place. So we're all very close by. So we're there most evens, or probably 3-4 evens a week. I still find myself going down and kind of half expecting them still to be there, which is a weird one. Look at it, loads of people have talked about this, and it probably won't go away anytime soon, and I hope it doesn't. He would have been a quiet man till he got to a match where he went mental. And I mean that in the best possible way. So referees were generally the target of his frustration or whatever like that. But he wasn't a person who, he never tried to coach us. So myself and my brother Pat would have played an awful lot with Wexford, probably me more so. But he wasn't one who tried to coach us, or you were certainly kept grounded in our house, shall I say, to put it mildly. So in 2004, we played Offaly in a qualifier in Wexford Park. I think we won 2-14 to 15 points. And I scored 2-10, but Pat had played that even as well, and played quite well. So in Daddy's in his own kind of unique way of doing it. He wouldn't be bigging anyone up, or he certainly wouldn't be putting anyone down. So I arrived home the next day, probably a bit worse for wear, and landed in. He said, geez, just got on well yesterday. I said, we did. He said, by Jesus, Pat played quite well. I said, he absolutely did, and moved on. I remember going outside and laughing and telling Pat about it shortly after that, and the two of us roaring laughing, because Pat was never too worried that I was taking a bit more limelight than him. He wouldn't have been the most sensitive or anything like that, but it was his way of doing it, and that's kind of the way he went through life. Like the funeral was like we had 2 nights of awake, because we knew it was going to be quite large, shall we say. So we had a night at home where we had a huge amount of neighbours, friends, the local GAA club, relatives, stuff like that, and then we had to do 7 hours in a funeral home, which is kind of unheard of. But I think, and we only realised this since, like, it's kind of a testament to him as opposed to us. We would, between football and different things, we'd kind of have a wide range and circle, but we're there because of him, not because of us. And like, there's huge comfort in that. But like, he's missed every day of the week, and it will take a long time to I suppose from my point of view, the good thing is we have kids, there's loads of grandkids at home, there is something else kind of to concentrate on, but I do find myself drifting back to it very, very regular. And I was with him when he passed away, which is probably, I've been away a huge amount with a new job I'd started, and I hadn't been around much, and one or two of them had said he waited till the prodigal son came home. I'm not so sure about that, but like, while it was really hard at the time, I think over time it'll be something that I'm really glad that I was there when it happened.
What age was he?
He'd been 87 in May, so he'd lived exceptionally healthy for 85, 86 years. It was only in the last probably 6 months he got sick, and he only went into hospital in probably 9th of January and died then on the 21st of February. So like, he wasn't particularly sick for a long time. He wasn't in a lot of pain, which is great relief. And like, he wouldn't have wanted anyone to see him like that. Probably more particularly us. But yeah, look, he was probably ready to go, and he'd said it kind of himself on a few occasions. But like, it's still, there's still a massive hole there.
Yeah.
Are you from a farming type background?
Yeah.
Because he does sound a little bit like my own dad when he was alive. That he'd never let you get yourself too far ahead, that sort of way. And is your mum still alive?
She is. Like, so just that generation, like, if you come home, if you'd scored 6-15 or you'd been sent off, it was well done or unlucky. There was no fanfare. There was no. And it was, looking back, it was the best thing the best thing ever, because there's plenty of it. You see lots of it. And it's only human nature, bigging up your own and stuff like that. And it was never an issue we were going to have anyway. So, but yeah, I think, look at that generation are just different. They didn't get too high, they didn't get too low. They dealt with what they had to, and I think, well, I'd like to think they've set the 6 of us along on a reasonably good path for the rest of it.
It's funny you say there, looking back, you wouldn't have changed it. That's probably the best way, and that makes sense. But at the time, you're coming in, you've done really well, and you talk about your dad said your brother, nearly. It's not a dig at you, but it's just keeping that levelness with everybody, which is lovely. And your mummy saying like, well done, a hard luck, and that's it. At the time, did you nearly look upon that as like, God, I think they'd make a bit more of a deal of it than that, or did you always recognise that?
No, I absolutely didn't, and I would mean that because we didn't know anything else. We never knew anything else, right. So we were lucky enough. Like, relatively speaking, we've I know where I'm saying this, and I've kind of been nice about it. We had 10 senior football medals in our house between us. I think we've probably more than anyone else in the parish, as far as I know. But like, even at that, if they were there after the match, neither of them ever drank. So if they're in for the post-match celebrations, it'd be well done and fair play to you, but that'd be it. And the same would be the same. We obviously lost county finals and stuff as well. So we knew there was never going to be fanfare. We didn't need it, to be honest. And looking back, I said it's the best thing that ever happened. Yeah. You said you were never getting ideas above your station. And
not to make a massive big judgment on people that drink and don't drink, but I suppose if your parents don't drink, that brings a level of, well, you're not going to be in a pub at 3 a.m, and maybe if you do, I'm sure there was days you did come home at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, whatever, but it's a different way of life, isn't it? Slightly different, and parents can be quite they can be quite direct as well. If you come in, like, my mum wouldn't have been a drinker, like, so if you come in, drink on you, like,
yeah. So one of my first, and like, there were I couldn't even say they were hard, but fair. They were always very fairness, and I can never remember having an argument with my father. I can never remember him shouting at me, anything like that. Mammy would have been the disciplinarian in our house in the best possible way, and
Right.
she was just brilliant to us. But I remember I played in a Leinster club championship semi-final at 16. So I wasn't very old. Probably I definitely should have been in school on the Monday morning. Was on a Sunday against St Sylvester's from Malahide in Portlaoise, I think the match was. So we lost the final. So it was only my second game ever. So the first game I played was the county final the week before, which we'd lost. So the season was over. So me thinking I was 25, went back to the pub with the lads as you do, and had probably at the time 3 or 4 pints. But Daddy was there, as he always was after matches. He'd be the last one leaving because he'd drop home the whole place. But Pat at the time was probably 19 or 20. He wasn't going home at 11:30 of a Sunday night, so I headed home my own with my dad, and we had to stop halfway home for me to empty the inside of my stomach. So didn't go to school the next day. Obviously was the worse for wear. When I did eventually surface, your mum said to me, something along the lines of, if you're going to have a few drinks, just do it sensibly.
Yeah.
So there was no big shouting or roaring. So again, it's just another one of the stories where it wasn't too high, it wasn't too low, but that bit of kind of, I suppose, just straightness and directness, which you knew exactly where you stood, and you didn't have to be, you didn't need to be told, I suppose.
Yeah. Are you happy enough chatting about your daddy, are you? Because I know we've just sort of landed upon you here. What was his name, first of all?
Paddy,
okay.
Yeah.
Paddy Forde. Great name, isn't it? Paddy Forde.
Strong name.
Strong name, Paddy Forde. What's the biggest hit now that he's gone? What's the thing that, and this will probably change over time for people that we talk to, but just at the minute, what's the biggest hit?
I suppose it's just the fact that he's not there when you go down in the evening, and he was brilliant at taking an interest in what we were all doing. Where are we today? We travelling today? We on the road today? What matches on the weekend? Like he has 12, I think we have 13 between grandchildren and great grandchildren. He's 13, or he had 13. 12 of them are actually boys now. A lot of them are quite young, but he took a fierce interest in what they were doing, whether it was training, matches. Where was the next one? Would it be on telly? Would he be able to see it? If it was close by, could he get to it particularly in the last couple of years, where he probably certainly wasn't driving too far, but just a genuine interest in what you were doing, and that's exactly what it was. Whether we all have different jobs, we've teachers in the house. My oldest brother farms the land where Daddy would have farmed, and he worked with him for years. Pat is a prison officer. One of my sisters is a hairdresser. So completely different occupations, but genuinely interested in what they were doing, and probably to the point, I know, where he'd be nearly annoying some of the lads. Particularly the ones he was working with, doing a bit of work along at home, like where we are today and what was done, and is it right and does it look well, and this kind of thing, because he really took pride in what he'd done himself. And as you're saying, and you said it, like the name, a strong name, but he was a huge man. I remember even the night that he passed away, just holding his arm, and I literally couldn't get my hand anywhere near around his wrist. Like he had wrists like my ankles probably are bigger, but that's probably the biggest thing that. So we definitely took it for granted, because he always was there, and you're expecting him always to be there. But that's kind of the biggest shock. And we've loads of pictures of him up in our own house. There's loads of pictures of him obviously in our home house, but you still look at him, or you see something, you see like there could be just a pair of boots or a jacket, or see something outside, or his Jeep is still there. Just something like that kind of catches you.
Yeah.
And it will for a while. And I think it's nice as well, because that's what he meant to us.
Yeah, just the Jeep's still there probably is a thing, isn't it? Just of all you said there, just it's that visual reminder. Yeah. And this is so early days as well. Do you like talking about your daddy? Obviously in a way that you do, but sometimes when there's a bereavement in a family, I find that nearly it could be just parked and not to mention the name, because from a good place you don't want to upset someone. I'm thinking maybe your mummy, to talk about everything else going on in the world but not bring up the obvious, or do you find a comfort in keeping that name alive? From my own point of view, I certainly do. My mum, again, of that generation, is a particularly tough woman, so she wouldn't let her feelings be known too much or anything like that, but I think probably she likes that is still
Not, I wouldn't say mentioned, because it's not just mentioned, it's talked about all the time. So like regularly on both a Friday and a Sunday evening, she would have literally every one of the rest of us in the house, kids, grandkids, in some stages great grandkids, so that the place is packed. And then it's probably obviously a bit lonely when we leave. We're not too far away, most of us, but I think it's important, especially for my young fellas, to keep them alive. Like we have lots of pictures. My eldest lad, who is Paddy as well, and we called him after Daddy back whatever that was 4.5 years ago. I think it's important for him to keep him alive. He remembers him very, very well and talks about him a lot, and we want to talk about him a lot and keep him alive. He's like, you only have one of them, so it's important. I'd like to think maybe, when the time comes and I've gone on, that Paddy Jr. might do something similar for me.
Yeah. It's lovely, but it's very different. I make no judgment in that with any family, except he's quite different. Like I remember Oisin lost his brother when Thomas was 15, wasn't he? He drowned at the Gaeltacht, and that's a different thing because he's so young. And a different kind of tragedy to hit a family. Yeah,
and I remember listening to that on the podcast with Oisin's mum, like, and it's, I start thinking back, Jesus, if I lost one of my brothers when we were that age, like, what does that do to me? Like, it definitely is different with my father. He'd lived his life, and he lived a long, and he lived a really healthy life, and well, I hope it was, for most of it, pretty much, I hope he was happy anyway. But yeah, like that, you probably can't compare the two of those. So like we get great, I wouldn't say great, there's comfort in knowing that he lived as long and lived as healthy as he did, where like somebody that age just hasn't lived, and that's it. I can't even begin to think about that, to be honest.
Yeah. Doug, thanks very much for mentioning that. And we didn't expect to talk about that. I was thinking I'm going to be asking you questions around bicycle shorts and underneath the shorts and things like that. But there you go. That's the meandering world of this podcast. But actually, what about the bicycle shorts? Because that's my image of you. You always wore the bicycle shorts.
Yeah, I to be honest, I can't remember where that actually started from. But for some reason, it was kind of nearly like a comfort blanket to me. That when you had them on, like, because you were going from 0 to 60 fairly rapidly, I never felt like I was going to have a hamstring or do a hamstring wearing them. Don't ask me where this came from. That was something that's going around in my head. It's like these pre-match superstitions of sitting in a particular place or wearing the bicycle shorts was mine, and I continued like to wear them right up till the very last day I played. Like I just said it earlier on, I concentrated on football far too much. I'd been better off probably trying to get myself a career when I was younger, but right up, like I played in a senior football final at 39, and I stopped playing after that. We were beaten after a replay by Shelmaliers, who I'm actually coaching at the moment. Didn't play the following year. I was playing a bit of junior in goal, and the lads ended up in their senior relegation final, so I went back and played that at 40. Madness again, but I was still playing a bit, so I was okay at the time. I played a couple of more years of junior after it, but never stopped wearing them. And I think I said off camera, I played a junior B match last year in my wisdom, and still had the bicycle shorts come back out for one.
Yeah,
I think it was just a comfort thing. I once to start wearing them, I never stopped.
Where did the longevity come from? Like a 39 senior final, and you still go back for a bit more. Where did that come from? Because you did pick up a few injuries.
Like the injury to stop me playing with Wexford was a particularly bad one. So I got hit playing when the championship was played. So you played your National League in April. You went away. We used to play a couple of club championship matches in early May, and then you go back and play in the Leinster Championship or whatever it was at the time. We played 2 club championship games in that period, probably 2, maybe 2 hurling and 2 football at the time. But got a bad back injury. A fella hit me playing a club game. I broke the L4 disc in my back in half, and half had lodged in my sciatic nerve. So I had to have that cut out of it. So that, like, it's a prolapse disc, it's called. So it's like, it still bothers me to this day. It's just a matter of winter is probably a bit worse with cold weather and stuff like that. So that was the beginning of the end of me playing senior. But I was still only 31 at the time. I wanted to play. I wanted to keep playing. Pat was playing with Kyle Near, and I wanted to keep playing. I had a couple of nephews who started playing, or 3, I think, maybe 4. I wanted to play with them, and then I wanted to play with the next one, and then I wanted to play with the next one, and so on. So played in the final, lost the final in 2018, and then, as I said, they ended up in the relegation final. So I'd played in the county final with 4 nephews, which was something I never seen myself doing. Possibly even hung on a bit too long, but Pat was still training the team in 2019. So I remember being in Kerry at a wedding, just outside Kerry, and they were playing their last group game. All they need was a win. So I was following this on the phone with very broken signal. They were 8 points up, 10 minutes to go, 12 minutes to go, 7 points up, 6, 5, 4, 3. So probably 7 or 8 points in. in me wisdom, rang him up, says I'll come back and play in the relegation final. Go up the next morning, just had a text from maybe one of the other selectors, something like fair play. He said, what am I after doing? So right, I'd done it now, so I went back and played. We won the relegation final, got out with their senior ever since, so I knew at that stage it was time to stop playing senior, and I did. But I played a couple of years in junior and goals after that, but you kind of want to, it's just hard to get away from, but I just love playing. I just love playing so much. I nearly couldn't stop playing, but I think the time has finally came.
Yeah, it didn't sound definitive there all the same. Sounds.
You looked as if somebody who enjoyed playing, and I think if you were playing today, you probably enjoy it even a bit more, no?
Yeah. I'd love to be playing today. Like I'd gone to the stage. I remember vividly Benny Coulter saying it's probably 10 odd years ago now he would hate to be playing, and I was the same at the time.
Yeah.
I think any forward would have been the same. But look, at the game has certainly opened up again. And to be fair, I think when at that period the game was quite open. You got 1-on-1s, you got 2-on-2. You know, an odd team might maybe draw back a sweep or something like that. So this was a whole new thing where geez, they had one extra defender. But like from that to what it merged into, you know, or morphed into 10 or 12 years later around, you know, with the blanket defence with 15 behind the ball constantly, would have had no interest in playing in that, to be honest. So we got away with playing at a pretty good time, to be fair. But it's changed now completely where, yeah, you would look at love to be playing again.
Yeah.
See the scoring thing, I had somebody who approached me, now not the other way around because I know you're going to twist it, but I had somebody who approached me and said, if I go back and look at all your scores and see how many of them were 2-pointers, so that you can
tot it
just up. Where do you think that would leave you?
I don't know. And the only reason I know what I finished on, because I came up very recently with somebody and there wasn't Googling, there was something. When I finished playing with Wexford, I finished playing with the club had done a night for me, so that's the only reason that I know the total. So I played 118 games. And I finished up with 557. 47 goals, 500.
Club and county?
No, just Wexford.
Wow.
He Googles it every day, so he does. He has it.
45, 550.
47, 557. So I think it's 2 points short to 700.
47 goals?
Yeah.
You sure?
That was decent, yeah. It was like in 2004, I think the year I won the All-Star, that year alone I scored 1174 in the league and championship. So just the average out, I think.
It was decent, isn't it?
10 points a game.
You didn't believe me.
No, I didn't believe. What do you mean I didn't believe me?
So yeah, it was that, and that's ultimately how I ended up probably winning the All-Star that year. And like the high percentage it was from play, which was from my own point of view was pretty pleasing. But
give me that again. What is
so
it again?
47.
So like, well, David Clifford scored 46. Now he's still quite young, so that's a very bad way to go. But still, he's 435 in terms of points. Like the highest ever score.
He was as prolific as him.
But that's my point. That's my point. But Mikey Sheehy is still the all-time point scorer for Kerry, who were always at the latter end, generally speaking. And he had 51 goals, 457 points. Like, so you're 4 goals behind him. Kerry were knocking out All Irelands every other year, and you'd more points than him as well. I mean, it's phenomenal score. I didn't realise it was as high as that, Oisin, if I'm being honest now. It's unbelievable.
No, the numbers were off the charts.
It would be nice to see throwing the 2-pointers, and then if you had a few marks in our day as well, where you got catch the ball. If you literally catch the ball anywhere and get a free kick, it would have been nice as well. But no, look at it. Said it was what it was. I enjoyed it. It was great crack. But
I'll get your total adjusted for you. Come back to you with it.
Yeah, that's a good research thing. Go through every single minute of every game.
I'd have to say there was probably a few National League games again, the likes of Waterford and Tipperary and that, where the cameras mightn't have been exactly rolling, shall we say, to put it mildly. But
that's a good point. Just make it up then.
Yeah, just if in doubt, lie.
If in doubt, 2 points.
2 points.
Yeah. Grand,
I thought that was a 13-metre free. No, it's behind the outside.
That was definitely 50 yards out.
Did the All-Star change things? Was it 2004?
Yeah.
Did it change things for you?
Probably made me more determined, if anything. It changed something for me from the point of view is when we won it, obviously it was the All-Star trip, and that year I played international rules for the first time in 2004. So I won an All-Star, I won the GPA Footballer of the Year, I played international rules. in the space of 3-4 months. So it was just mental. But the big eye opener, not big eye opener for me, the one thing that really clicked with me at that time was playing international rules with your Tyrone lads, your Armagh lads, your Kerry lads, your Dublin lads, your Galway fellas. I feel like I'm right up here with any of these guys. And then obviously going playing the international rules, but then going on the All-Star Tour where it's obviously a good bit more laid back and relaxed. As you well know, it's probably not all about the football, shall we say, but these lads are just the very same as us. So I mentioned earlier on about seeing the picture of Geezer and Paul McGrain lifting the cup, like saying, like, these lads are like kind of like gods, or the Kerry lads, whoever it's going to be. But you very quickly find out like they're every one of them, I'd say you could count on one hand that are not, they're down to earth, they're good fellas, they enjoy the crack the same as you. And then I realise very quickly, Jesus, I can compete, more than compete with these. I'm right up there with them, or I certainly feel like I am. But I went through 2 bad years after that. I picked up quite a few injuries, but 2008, when we did get to the Ireland semi-final, like I didn't score as heavily that year as I did in 04, but I felt I actually arguably probably played better in 08 than I had in 04. Right. And that just came a little bit like I'm speaking about earlier on with the Wexford lads currently. It comes with confidence of, I can do this. I've competed again the best defenders in Division 1 and held me own and some. So, why not keep it going?
When you were announced, did you feel comfortable in that company?
At the time, I think it's still the same. Obviously, one is announced live on the night and the other is a couple of days before. So I actually found out a couple of days before. Yeah. So I kind of had time to adjust to it. But yeah, I think by that stage I did, because I was top scorer that year in the National League. I was top scorer in the Championship, even though we had gone out we won that Offaly game I mentioned in Croke Park, which was round 3 or 4, and we actually lost the week later to Derry up in Parnell Park. So we're actually gone out round 4. So to be top scorer in the Championship, having been gone in round 4 of the qualifiers, we'd only played 5 games, where there was guys who played, I think, their 8th and 9th game in the All-Ireland final maybe. So you were kind of feeling then, geez, maybe I do deserve to be in this kind of company, I suppose, for want of a better phrase.
Who's the best player you've ever seen?
Like, Clifford more than likely will be, and I think it's very, very close to it at this stage that he is and probably will be. As a young fella, it was Canavan and Maurice Fitz were my two. So you had 2 completely different types of players. You had Canavan, who was smaller, like Ulster at the time, probably no different now. Obviously, it was a fairly raw setup week in, week out, and the way he could handle himself. But then, like, he won games on his own. And then, not that you had the opposite with Maurice Fitz, he was well able to handle himself, but he just glided around the field. He looked like he was doing everything in third gear all the time. And like the free kick where has the hands onto the fence again, Cavan, I think he kicks off the ground with his left foot in Croke Park, thinking Ireland semi-final. It's just, that had me mesmerised. How does somebody not only kick the ball with their bad foot, but kick it off the ground like this and just make it look so ridiculous? Like, so the two of them, like, it was a toss-up between 2 of them, but I think Clifford now, I think I'll be getting a pair of David Clifford pyjamas fairly shortly.
But you don't feel he's there yet? Is something just holding you back, Matty?
No, it's not something holding me back. It's just once he finishes, I think he absolutely will be. But it's just, I suppose it's probably paying respects to the fellas of my own age group. They're a little bit older in my own era. They're when my heroes growing up. But I think another couple of years of him doing what he's doing, and there's no reason why he's not going to. I think he'll be everybody's hero.
You're probably a bit of a mix between, because you could handle yourself, but you did sort of later in the pitch as well, and you were able to kick off no backlift and stuff like that, and I think that was something you sort of developed. You're very difficult to block and very difficult to get off the ball, so you probably ended up a mix of those 2 guys that you probably looked up to.
Just, that's a nice comparison, to be fair. But yeah, and like, there's no doubt, not that you can go and copy or emulate, but like, I think you're mad if you're not looking around to see what the best players in any sport are doing, particularly your own sport, and seeing what's working for them or what. And like, from the likes of Fitzgerald, it looked aesthetically very pleasing as well, the way he was just stroking the ball over. But like, would I have tried to do? Absolutely, 100%. And I think I had to develop in terms of kind of looking after yourself. When I started with Wexford, I think the first game I played, the National League game against, I think it was Fermanagh, I was 11 stone. So by the time I played my last game, or certainly actually the All-Ireland semi-final, and don't maybe bring it up, I was 14 and a half stone, so you're in a much better position, and I needed to be. I said that picture of Geezer and Paul McGrain always stuck with me, but just to be able to look after yourself, like I was marking Francie, I was marking Enda McNulty, or you're marking Conor Gormley, or you can just keep going. So you had to be able to look after yourself. Like, I wouldn't have considered myself as being dirty or anything like that, but you needed to be able to handle yourself to a certain extent, and certainly felt I'd developed that over the 10 or 12 years I played with Wexford.
Who was the one that you found you got least change from?
There was plenty, but I've always said Sean Marty Lockhart, and then just pissed you off, he's a real nice fella off the field as well.
Yeah.
I was always the ones who said nothing to you. They were the most dangerous. So like, one of my claims, I marked him that day we lost that qualifier in 2004, but my claim to fame is keeping him scoreless. I got 1-4 that day, but I wanted to keep him scoreless, but like, he was a nightmare. So he was tough, he was aggressive, he was exceptionally quick, he was a really good footballer.
Yeah.
But then I said, just to add insult to injury, he's such a nice fella off the field as well. He was a nightmare. But like, there was loads along the way. Francie was never particularly nice.
What was he like? What was his bark worse than his bite?
No.
His bite was worse than his bark.
His pinches.
It's the complete opposite, isn't it?
His pinches are worse than his bites. His thumps are worse than his pinches. But and it's another very slight claim to fame. So in the league final in 2008, a 50-50 ball that came, and it wasn't between me and Francie, it was between our half hour, David Fogarty and Francie, and I only actually seen the clip the other night again. It was probably more 60-40 in favour of David Fogarty, but again, Francie wasn't worried about percentages or anything like that, so he just came clean through him, he wiped him out. So that was then the David Fogarty in the match. But 10 or 15 minutes later in the game, Francie took a hand pass kind of blindsided from Paul McGrain and turned into me, where I actually put him down with his shoulder, and I was still going around kind of going like this that I actually could. But I think the semi-final was Francie's last game for Armagh. It took a long time. I carried a bit of an injury into the match, wasn't much. It took a long time to wear him down, but you certainly you never wore him down physically. But yeah, like, seriously tough. And look, to be fair, like, a lot of it was just really hard, and he was just a tough man. It wasn't bravado, wasn't put on. He was a seriously hard man, and when you got hit, you stayed hit.
Yeah.
But look, I never minded any of it, to be honest. It's people say, oh, it's a compliment, stuff like that, but once it's fair and on the ball, like, there was no boxing the head or mouthing or that kind of thing with him, to be fair. So it was part and parcel of it.
Yeah. Sean Marty Lockhart. We'll pass that on to Sean Marty.
I remember kicking 2000, I think it was, we played him in the Ulster final. He had hardly give me a sniff, but I got the ball, got out round him and kicked one with my left foot, and I celebrated it like it was like we're off to win the All Ireland. I swear to God. I don't think I got a sniff after that either, but that just give you an idea.
And I think he would survive and thrive probably in
Yeah.
particularly even now, because he's such a good ball player. And it's definitely coming back into GAA with the new rules, where defenders have to start defending again.
Yeah.
The need to be one-on-one defenders. And Mark O'Shea, another great example. We never played Kerry, thankfully, competitively, but the likes of him, I think, would thrive now as well.
Yeah. Great compliment to Sean Marty. Great fella too.
Yeah.
Teacher at St. Pat's Mahara and doing great things there. Yes. It's great, like, isn't it? That's just throwback. Just the 47 goals now, just it's throwing me a wee bit. It's the most basic research, really. I should have really known that, but just this phenomenal level of scoring. It's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I knew the numbers were off the charts. Like, that was the topic of conversation around that time, but just when you see them written down now and you compare them to some of the greats, like, you know what I mean, you're right up there.
Yeah, and like, people say, oh Jesus, it was unreal, and to say then, oh well, it'll be the kind of the party line of, well, I had good lads around me, but like, I really had, because at the time or at any time you need the ball. And like, I always refer, Reuben Barry was just one guy I loved playing with. Like, he'd find you in a phone box with the ball, but we had good players around us and you needed them. Like, I couldn't have kicked that many scores. I didn't go out, win the ball in the middle of the field and come in and kick it over the bar. You needed the ball and you needed good quality ball, and we had very good players at the time. I would trade the All-Star in the morning for one Leinster title, gladly. I give it back, but it wasn't to be. But I think we had lads that time who could compete in any company or at any stage. So it's just, I think it's only important to acknowledge them, and it's not just pawning it off as I had good lads. I had really good players around me, and that was maybe as big a part of that kind of scoring as me as well.
Who do you see winning the Leinster title this year? It's quite unfair nearly to ask somebody whose county's in Leinster, but if you're to call it.
I think Meath. I do fancy Meath. I think potentially it'll be a Meath Dublin final. I think now is the time for Meath. Look, at Dublin haven't gone anywhere in terms of Leinster. Can they win All Ireland? probably not, but they're still absolutely one of the big dogs in Leinster. But I think, and winning the league final, I think, will be a big shot in the arm for Meath. Having lost last year's Leinster final, I think that now is the time for him. And if I was to put my head on the block, I'd say Meath.
Leinster Championships.
There's a revival, definitely is a revival of.
I mean, it was the mockery one, really. Like, if you not because of everybody else, really, but just because Dublin were just so strong. And in fairness to Dublin, they winning All Irelands, weren't just winning Leinster Championships. But there was a real sense. It probably was mockery, like a snobbery, maybe looking from maybe even.
I think
Ulster.
anybody who was in Croke Park last year for the Leinster final,
Yeah.
and the crowds, the buzz, everything else, realised it was definitely a hunger for somebody new. And now that they've got the taste for it, there's a lot of good teams in Leinster.
But Dublin could win Leinster, Louth
Definitely.
could win Leinster, Meath could win Leinster, Kildare, they got relegated in Division 2. Is that where they're at? Wexford's going to Division 2. I mean,
well, it's at least competitive again, which we've all been looking for a long number of years, because like the start of most years there for that 10-year period where Dublin were dominant, like they were 20-1 on to win Leinster before the ball was kicked, like, and had everyone else demoralised. But like, also the likes of ourselves, and I'm not speaking for other counties, we had dropped the ball big times where we were competitive with Dublin for the duration of time I played, and so were Westmeath. Westmeath had won a Leinster, Laois had won Leinster. Kildare were seriously competitive. Meath were winning Leinster. So you had 5 or 6. You obviously have Louth are really back in the game now as well. So, it's a decent championship again. You can't say like Dublin are not going to be odds on to win it, or long odds on to win it again anyway, which is good for Leinster and good for football in general.
and even the teams that we haven't even mentioned Westmeath in that sense. Wicklow beat Westmeath in the championship. So there are teams that maybe don't necessarily have the capabilities from the outside looking in. I'm just saying this from my perspective, who you mightn't think could win the Leinster championship, but they could definitely take out a team. And then when you start piecing it all together,
it was like for 10 years it was a race for second, by default Westmeath were the second best team a couple of years. They went to Leinster finals, got heavily beaten. Kildare went to a Leinster final or two, got heavily beaten. They were the second best team for a while, but the other teams there now with realistic ambitions of at least getting to a final and not being blown away by 15 to 20 points by that, like Dublin, or that was a serious Dublin team.
To wrap it up, who's going to win, Sam?
I have it down to 3, I believe, and it's very much up in the air. So you obviously have, I think, the 2 league finalists in Kerry and Donegal are obviously probably top of the pile. I think if Armagh get everybody back fitting on the field, I think they're a match for anyone. I was talking to someone after the Kerry Armagh game, league game in round 7 there, back 2 weeks ago, and I think the Kerry lads said they were pretty sore after that game. Such as the physicality of Armagh, but to have the footballers added into that, like you have your 2-point kickers. If some of the rumours are right about a certain Crossmaglen man being back in the fold and back doing a bit of training, like what he adds to them up front is unbelievable. You're talking about 2 point, like some of the points he kick should be worth 3 points, but like they have serious 2-point shooters as it is. To have the physicality, to have the running power. They've also won in All Ireland, which is huge. Know how to get over the line. It's very hard to pick one between the 3 of those. Is it advantage Donegal after winning the league? It could be a disadvantage. They're obviously certainly in the conversation. I think it's really hard to pick between the 3 of them. Yeah.
I was commentating on the Kerry Armagh game for the TV, and it was as good a game of football, honestly, that I can remember. I was really sitting thinking afterwards, I know there's been better games, but I'm really struggling to think of them. It had an absolute championship ferocity about it. It was brilliant, and you could see. And Jack O'Connor actually mentioned on Sunday the fact that he felt that it actually took a lot out of the players, and maybe that was a contributing reason why.
Look at Kerry. There's no doubt Kerry will be back again later in the summer, and that was a nice bit of a stick to beat him with, I think, for the rest of the year. But I think for the likes of Armagh, I think, and I've always said it about the Ulster, it's exceptionally tough for them to turn around after a tough Ulster campaign and then possibly go back into the qualifiers with maybe another 1 or possibly 2 more Ulster teams. You're fairly battered and bruised by the time you get out of that to go into playing a Kerry team who was invariably probably coasted into a quarter-final, semi-final, where they haven't been tested, they haven't been mentally or physically really tested, where they're that little bit fresher, where you've took a battering in Ulster for 2, 3, 4 games, and then maybe another couple in the qualifier. So that little bit of mental freshness, I think, is a big thing going into the latter stages. I think that probably counted last year with Donegal, certainly in the final.
Yeah. What's this rumour about a certain Cross McGlen man? So, sorry, Oisin. I'm
back.
Get that under secrets. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about Rain, but I don't. Is there any news there?
No, he's not back. He's playing away with the club. Just
it's not true.
No, well, that was obviously on the grapevine. Look, it would be a huge thing for Armagh, but
I would come back though if he's around.
Yeah, would you? Would you be good enough?
Doubt it.
What if you're playing Derry in an Ulster final? Bring back Sean Marty.
Yeah.
Good matchup.
I wouldn't want to see him if I was going to play.
Agreed.
Great stuff. Look, brilliant, Matty. Thank you very much indeed for coming on, man. Really, really appreciate it. It's good to get chatting.
Thanks,
with you.
Matty.
Condolences as well about your daddy. He sounded a great man. Good sense of himself, just even the way you were talking about him there. And look, we didn't expect to go down that line, but I think a lot of people will take a lot from it, because grief's, it seems, an easier thing to talk about when there's a bit of time, but actually in the midst of it, it's different, and that's when people are vulnerable around grief. So I think the people take a lot from listening to you there, Matty. What a player, boy. What a player.
Player numbers stack up. He was even playing rightly. We played a game a couple of years ago, do you remember, in Rockland?
That'd have been a quiet trip.
It's very quiet.
New York, yeah.
New York, yeah. He was still going well then.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had looked after ourselves really well for,
I'm sure.
for 5 days.
Well, as Matty says, it's the condition of the players. It's
Fail to prepare.
It's the difference now, you know. Okay, brilliant stuff. We will be back for another podcast. We've a few lined up, hopefully, over the next few weeks. Obviously, with our bigger interview one every Tuesday night, then we have the review show on a Sunday night. Just to let everybody know, we are in championship season now. It is official, and we have Tyrone against Armagh in the Athletic Grounds next Sunday, so Sunday week, the 12th of April. And that's going to be the first game on the BBC. We'll have more news around those and the rest of the fixtures, but we're there right all the way through to the All-Ireland hurling and football finals in July. So championship season has arrived. We're looking forward to it. Armagh, Tyrone, just I could pick any one of them, but just that game, who's going to win it?
Armagh. Home advantage, and look, at Tyrone will be Tyrone, and they will come with something that they probably haven't shown during the league. They've been a bit of a mishmash of the good, the bad and the ugly, but I just think Armagh are a bit further down the road probably in Tyrone at the moment. For me, there's too many question marks over Tyrone at the moment. Could it be set up for an ambush? No, on Tyrone, absolutely, but I think this is a pretty decent Armagh team we currently have. Okay, Matty, go well, fella. Look after yourself, which you're clearly doing. Good luck to the two young cubs. What age? One of them's 4. Did you? Paddy is 4.5, and Freddie is 1.5. So Paddy and Freddie, love the ways.
Great names.
Lots of work ahead.
Two good names. Oh. Paddy and Freddie. There's not too many Freddies about.
No,
where did that come from?
It's completely left field. So my mum kind of said to me, is there a Freddie on, my wife's actually a Donegal woman, said, is there a Freddie on Bianca's side? I was, no, we just sounded good with Paddy, so we wanted 2 fairly strong names, so that's where we went.
Should.
Great names, Paddy and Freddie. Right. This is definitely not the podcast I expected it to be, but we will definitely wrap it up there. Many more podcasts on BBC Sounds and much more GAA content right across the BBC, including the BBC Sport website. But from the great Oisin McConville, the great Matty Forde, and myself, thanks for listening.